If you were offered $2,000 for finding a single Bible text, would you look for it? A few years ago, Pastor R.H. Blodgett offered that much money in the Rochester, Indiana Sentinel. It was a bona fide offer, for he had a cashier's check for that amount to give to anyone who found that one text. This offer of a reward was for anyone who could provide a single Bible text proving that Sunday is the correct day on which Christians should worship. Easy, you say. All right, but let us help you in your search. To begin with, there are only 9 texts in the Bible referring to Sunday, called the first day, since the modern names for days were not used by Bible writers. The first is Genesis 1, verses 3 through 5, which states that the Lord created light on the first day. This is the only specific Old Testament reference to the first day. There are 5 references in the New Testament to the same event. The discovery that Jesus had risen from the dead, they are in Matthew 28, verse 1, Mark 16, verse 1 and 2, and verse 9, Luke 24, verse 1, and John 20, verse 1. 2 of these, Matthew 28, verse 1, and Mark 16, verses 1 and 2, are significant, for they say that the first day of the week follows the Sabbath. John 20, verse 19 says that the disciples were assembled on the first day of the week. Could this be the $2,000 text? Let's examine it. The disciples were not meeting to celebrate the resurrection, but were shut up in the room for fear of the Jews. But look at Acts 20, verse 7. This must be the text, for here a religious meeting is definitely taking place long after the resurrection. Bread was broken, and the Apostle Paul preached a lengthy sermon during this meeting. But again, let us scrutinize the text closely. First of all, this was a special meeting held in the evening. Paul and his traveling party had stopped over at Troas on their journey to Jerusalem. They stayed there 7 days, and on the last day, which was the first day of the week, Paul held a final service for the Christians there. Paul's regular custom was to worship on the 7th-day Sabbath. Texts for that are Acts 13, verse 14, Acts 13, verses 42 through 44, Acts 16, verse 13, Acts 17, verse 2, and Acts 18, verse 4. Another point to be considered is this. Does holding a religious service, even a preaching service, on a particular day make that day holy? Obviously not. If so, then Wednesday would be holy, for many churches have a midweek preaching service on that day. Breaking bread or celebrating the Lord's Supper on a certain day does not lend sanctity to that day either. Jesus celebrated the first such service with his disciples on a Thursday evening. Without a direct command from God to worship on a certain day, nothing that man can do will make that day holy. God has given such a command in Exodus 20, verses 8 through 11, to keep holy the 7th-day Sabbath. The last text is 1 Corinthians 16, verse 2. Here is another promising one, a request by Paul to take up a collection on Sunday. But look closely. Paul is simply telling the church members at Corinth to put aside some money and save it up so there will be no need to collect money when I come. He was stopping at Corinth and wanted the money for the needy at Jerusalem to be ready for him to pick up. So we have examined all the texts referring to the first day of the week, and not one of them indicates that it is the day to be kept as the Sabbath or as the Lord's Day. We wouldn't have won the $2,000, would we?